Welcome to PeaceTV. Today PeaceTV will bring you the following main content. Situation between Russia and Ukraine. China responds to Taiwan. The Korean Peninsula is hot again. Here are the details.
3 US officials on April 7th told Reuters news agency that Russia or pro-Russian elements were likely behind the leak of some classified US military documents online. The document appeared to have been edited to downplay the number of casualties suffered by Russian forces, the officials said. These assessments are informal and separate from the investigation of the leak, they added. An advisor to the president of Ukraine, Mikhailo Podolyak, said he believes Russia is behind the leak of classified Pentagon information. The Ukrainian official said the documents released were fake and had nothing to do with the real Ukrainian plans, and were based on a large amount of fictitious information. The appearance of the above classified documents, whether real or fake, has led many people to focus more on when Ukraine's intended counterattack will begin. Responding to the allegations, Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Moscow knew that the United States and NATO were involved in the conflict in Ukraine before classified Pentagon documents were leaked online. Mr. Peskov said, "We have no doubt about the direct or indirect involvement of the US and NATO in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. This level of involvement is increasing gradually. We always keep an eye on the process. These moves will complicate things, but they won't affect the final outcome of the special operation." Mr. Kirillov accused the US of engaging in efforts to prevent possible leaks from Kiev experts about the true nature of biological research programs. At a press conference on April 7th, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, commander of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical defense forces, released a series of new documents on suspected US-funded biological programs aiding Ukraine. General Kirillov cited documents from a meeting on October 20th, 2020 between representatives of the US Defense Threat Reduction Agency DTRA and various Ukrainian officials, as well as data from engineering company Jacobs, CH2M. The contact is said to focus on the resumption of biological research in Ukraine, which has been paused due to the conflict between Moscow and Kiev, according to the Russian authorities. The document clearly shows that the program, once called Joint Biological Research, has now been renamed Biological Control Research. The document also addresses concerns about a Russian disinformation campaign on the issue. Neither Washington nor Kiev has commented on the new Russian accusation. RT news agency quoted Sergei Aksanov, the head of the Crimean government, yesterday as saying that a missile launched from Ukraine was intercepted by the system. Russian air defenses shot down the town of Feodosia, southeast of the Crimean Peninsula. Feodosia is at least 250 kilometers from the nearest Ukrainian military position. An advisor to Aksanov later said that debris from the downed Ukrainian missile had landed in a residential area in Crimea, but there was no human or material damage. What about Ukraine? Yesterday, quoting Ukrainian military officials, the Russian military carried out intense raids on Ukrainian military positions in separatist regions in the east and south of the country. Accordingly, during the night of June 6th and early morning of June 7th, Moscow carried out a total of 18 airstrikes, 5 missile strikes and 53 rocket-propelled artillery attacks against Ukrainian targets, causing severe consequences for people and property. Power systems in some areas of Ukraine have also been affected. Accordingly, a missile strike was conducted on the city of Sloviansk in Donetsk, causing a violent explosion and injuring at least 1 civilian. Yuri Sobolevsky, deputy head of the Kherson region's military administration in southern Ukraine, also accused Russia of bombing the area on the morning of June 7th, injuring at least 8 people. 8 people have been injured so far. 2 of them are medical personnel. The Russian military bomb hit an ambulance on its way to assist victims of a shelling, he said. Sobolevsky said. According to Sobolevsky, Russia carried out 46 heavy artillery and fighter attacks on Kherson in the past day, causing many explosions and fires. The Kherson government said the attacks would not stop and warned the public to remain vigilant and listen to sirens. In Donetsk, Governor Pavlo Kyrylenko acknowledged that 15 cities and towns in the region had been hit by artillery in the past day's fighting, leaving at least one person dead, also on April 8th. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Army said that fighting in Bakhmut is still going on extremely fierce as Russian forces try to take full control of the battle city. This quote, "In the past 24 hours, we have repelled 14 enemy raids in Bakhmut," the Ukrainian statement said, according to the same announcement. Russian forces also stepped up attacks in Avdiivka, Mariinka and Lyman in the past day. The Ukrainian army has repelled more than 40 raids in the above areas on the Russian side. A representative of Wagner Group said that this force has controlled the center of Bakhmut and is moving to the western area of the city. Ukrainian troops destroyed many structures in the city center before retreating. This is a tactic to prevent us from using these buildings as defensive positions, a member of Wagner told RIA news agency Novosti. Moving on to China and Taiwan. After the meeting between Tsai and McCarthy on Wednesday, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives said his country should continue to increase support for Taiwan. "We must continue to sell arms to Taiwan and ensure that sell that weapon to Taiwan on time. We must also strengthen economic cooperation, especially in trade and technology." To respond, China has begun 3 days of military exercises around Taiwan after the island's president met with the Speaker of the US House of Representatives. Despite Beijing's repeated threats, the drills, dubbed United Sharp Sword, were condemned by Taiwan. China considers Taiwan as its territory and does not rule out the possibility of using force to control Taiwan. The Chinese military's Eastern Theater Command announced the drills Saturday, describing them as a grave warning to Taiwan's separatists' collusion with other powers externally, and is a necessary move to protect national sovereignty and territorial integrity. Special forces simultaneously organized patrols around the island to create a comprehensive encirclement and deterrence, the Eastern Theater Command said. A total of 71 Chinese fighter jets passed through the Taiwan Strait on Saturday. Taiwan's Defense Ministry said in a statement that 45 aircraft entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone. 9 ships of the People's Liberation Army PLO were also detected. Moving on to the Korean Peninsula issue, it's hot again. The recent military activities of the parties have caused tensions in the Korean Peninsula and the region to escalate. The US military has deployed many strategic weapons and vehicles to South Korea, including strategic bombers and the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Nimitz. The United States also holds joint drills and exercises with South Korea and Japan in an effort to demonstrate military prowess. To North Korea. North Korea criticized the US and South Korean military exercises for pushing the situation in the region to irreversible catastrophe and the brink of nuclear war. These activities go beyond the limits of North Korea's tolerance, and it will respond by demonstrating its deterrence capability through offensive operations. North Korea announced on Saturday that it had tested a new type of underwater drone. It said was capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. The unmanned aircraft, known as HEAL-2 Unmanned Underwater Nuclear Attack Ship, was tested from April 4th to 7th, according to a report by the Korean Central News Agency, KCNA. KCNA said the missile moved in the waters off the east coast of North Korea for more than 71 hours before its test warhead was detonated underwater on Thursday afternoon. This is the second time in as many weeks that the reclusive nation has announced it has tested a nuclear-capable drone. In March, Pyongyang said it had tested a HEAL-1 missile, which it said was capable of carrying a nuclear warhead that could create a radioactive tsunami. The result of the test is that the reliability and fatal strikeability of the underwater strategic weapon system has been perfectly proven. KCNA said of the latest test of the HEAL-2, Pyongyang claims to have been developing nuclear-capable drones since 2012 and has carried out more than 50 tests in the past 2 years.